Hello everyone, my name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we're going to be talking about Andre the Giant. I just recently watched the Andre the Giant documentary based upon his life story in the world wrestling profession. And I would say it's a rather fascinating story. It was very interesting to watch and observe this guy's life through the eyes of his fellow comrades, his opponents that he had throughout the career of his professional wrestling career. I really enjoyed this documentary. I really enjoyed it. I don't watch too many documentaries. It's hard for most of them to hook me, but this one reeled me in and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker in a good way. It's a really good documentary. So, I just finished it. Let's get into it.
And from Grenoble in the French Alps, weighing 477 pounds, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant.
He was stronger than all of us. He was bigger than all of us.
Oh! Back from Andre the Giant off the top turnbuckle.
He kept everybody in line. He was the guy.
He was famous on a different level, literally the biggest celebrity in the world.
Andre commanded great respect. He was not the most articulate man in the world.
Look at me when I'm talking to
He
you.
spoke in other ways.
Oh boy, look at that.
He was a figure of the imagination come to life.
Mother Nature has done something really magnificent here.
He did sports entertainment before there was sports entertainment.
I can't believe it. This is unreal.
If you don't know what professional wrestling is, the major one right now is the WWE World Wrestling Entertainment. Back then it used to be called the WWF World Wrestling Federation. They had to change their name because of legal issues. But if you don't know anything about the wrestling business, this movie will give you a brief history lesson as to how the business works. They integrate a side plot in here of telling the story of how the WWE came to stardom, how each individual superstar like Hulk Hogan came to fame, and then how it led to that classic match that was between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, and how that affected Andre the Giant's life of him turning heel, which in wrestling terms, heel means that they're a villain, and babyface means that they are a good guy, a hero. And that's what Hulk Hogan was. He was the face, the hero at the time. Andre the Giant, who in the past was a babyface and a hero, was going through a transition in his life. So then at that point, he figured, he was just coming to the end of his career. He thought he wasn't going to live long. So he just decided to take a new path in his professional wrestling career and become a heel, and that's how all that stuff led to the WrestleMania 3 match with what he was going through, and then the transition of the audience dynamic within the company, and who was the top of the top guys at the time in the company, which was Hulk Hogan, and him, Andre, passing the torch and all that stuff. So it explains all of that, explains the business, it explains the shoot of wrestling, of how it's like, it's not real. It's not real, but it's soap opera drama.
When you tore my shirt off, man, when you tore the cross, you tore the heart and soul out of all the little Hulksters, man. Not just me. We're gonna get your attention, man. Yeah, we're gonna get your attention.
You have all of these characters who have these unique names and they have these unique personalities. And it's a dance. They collaborate with other people, their opponents. They collaborate with them. Like Hulk Hogan in the movie was explaining a moment where he didn't know if Andre was going to put him over, which means he didn't know if Andre the Giant was going to take the loss in the match. He had planned out the entire match of how everything was going to go down, but Andre, with the larger-than-life personality that he had from all of these interviews and people explaining who he was as a person, we learn that, he was just jerking Hogan around. He was playing, he was messing with him, and it's like Hulk Hogan had this whole match scripted out of like, okay, you're gonna throw me, I try to lift you from on top of me, go for the pin, I kick out. And he's like, Andre went through the whole match on script, but then the finish he didn't know until like the last minute. And so they explain Andre the Giant's personality of who he was. It's like he's a guy who came from a small town and he had big dreams, and he accomplished those dreams through his physique, of his statue, of who he was as just an average person, but then in the eyes of the public who are massively, just infectiously involved with this pro wrestling thing, and seeing all these characters who are larger than life, seeing someone like that and the way people promoted him, the way the bookers promoted him, all of that stuff coming together shot Andre the Giant over the moon. And and the movie kind of did explain that he was maybe thrilled about that, because he came from nothing, now he has something. And it's the rag to riches story, but then at the same time, it shows him emotionally behind the scenes of what was going on in his professional career, like how he would drink a lot, and there's all these myths that people would come up with about him. And so people seeing the testimonials of all of these people explaining who Andre the Giant was as a person in the ring and out of the ring, and how he reached the level of stardom that he did through his appearance and through his heart of gold, but then also his attitude of like, I'm the Giant, you do not cross me, I crush you, you do not mess with me, stuff like that. And so how he could play both sides, and how he was just a loving person. So seeing all of that and all that coming together was really amazing, and it kept me engaged. The movie, integrating all these things about the wrestling business, who Andre the Giant was, it did a perfect job explaining all of that. The only negative thing I can say is that it didn't give me much depth. There wasn't much depth. It didn't give me like a raw personal experience of Andre the Giant, of like what, like when he was drinking, because I'm pretty sure there's some things that he did in his life that weren't so bright and shiny, I guess you could say. But I mean, yeah, it's not about that. We're just learning about the person, and in order for me to really learn about someone, we need to know the ins and outs about them. And the movie did paint a good enough picture for me to understand his life from other people's perspectives. But I just really wanted to get more information about Andre the Giant from his own perspective, but he can't do that because he's no longer with us. But I think the movie did a good enough job explaining who he was as a person throughout the movie, using interviews from people, using archive footage, and the music combined in here made a lot of tense moments. So overall, I wish there was more, but I was satisfied with what I got. If you don't know who Andre the Giant is, then this movie explains just enough about him for you to be intrigued. Because like I said, it goes along getting testimonials from people, archive footage of Andre, meaning the people who actually knew him and worked with him on movies, not just in professional wrestling, people who also knew him in his personal life. And they paint a picture good enough for the viewer to understand who Andre the Giant is, or who he was as a person. And I feel like I liked him. The movie paints the picture of a giant with a heart of gold, and he seemed like he did, but I just really wish the movie would have just gotten more in depth, gotten to his soul of who he really was. And I feel like they scratched the surface with that. You can't get all the information you want out of this thing, but you get just enough information to understand what he was dealing with, what he was going through, his transitions in life, of how he got from point A to point B, and you kind of paint a clear enough picture in your mind as to how he was feeling during these times of where he was going through certain things, like with ups and downs with his stuff that was going on in his personal life. I don't know, and also stuff that people explain, the stuff that he was going through emotionally. So it paints a clear enough picture, but I just wish I would have got a lot more emotion from, or just known. I just wanted to know more about this guy. I enjoyed the Andre the Giant documentary. I feel like for someone who doesn't know who Andre the Giant is, this movie paints a good enough picture for you to understand who he was. And I feel like the way the movie does that, it's handled really well because of, I would say, one, the music, where when the musical score kicks in, there's a cue of certain moments of emotion that you're supposed to feel throughout, where when they talk about professional wrestling, the music hits a high note. It's very impactful, like you're watching something that's kind of inspirational, like you see these guys and they're performing their craft in front of an audience, like watching a circus, which was fun. And then seeing Andre the Giant in his personal life when he's at home, when he found moments of solitude, his surrogate family, and be relaxed and spend time with them. The movie paints a good enough picture showcasing what Andre the Giant was going through, but I just wish that the movie had given me more information, more background research, more just in-depth personal stuff with this guy, because it seemed like such a phenomenal thing. Like we're watching the phenomena. As an outsider looking in, I'm viewing the phenomena, the giant, but then who is the real guy? And that's what I didn't get from this movie. But I did get a clear enough picture as to who he was, what he was going through, and his progression throughout his life. Overall, I will give the Andre the Giant documentary a solid A. This movie was fantastic. It was entertaining. I liked the little insider information they gave on sports entertainment wrestling. The way they shoot on it, which shooting in the wrestling business is like you're going off script, you're not being in character, you're giving away all the secrets of what goes on outside of the squared circle, the ring. And I liked all of that, and all that stuff integrating into Andre the Giant's life. It made a lot of sense because it explained the stuff that was going on behind that, like with the thing with Hulk Hogan and Andre. It explained what was going on behind the scenes with that and how everything led to the moment of the epicness that is Hulk Hogan slamming Andre and stuff, and just imagining being in that time. I guarantee you it was a great spectacle, and probably meeting the guy was a tremendous joy. And it's sad to say that, yeah, wrestling, the world of professional wrestling, or just the world, has lost someone who was an icon and probably the sweetest guy you could ever meet. We'll never know, or at least I won't. But the documentary did give me enough information to understand him, know what he was going through, knowing the profession that he was in and everything. So I enjoyed the movie. The directing was great, the music included. Everything in here was fine, except I wish I would have just got a bit more personal and like depth information into Andre the Giant himself, the man behind the legend. But if I want to know that information, I should read a book. So I enjoyed the movie. If you want to check it out, if you don't like wrestling, I think you'll enjoy this. And if you do like wrestling, you'll love this. So goes both ways. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Look at this. He's I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm dropping a